We are back together. Thank you for returning. If this is your first visit to the Khyber Pass podcast, welcome. This is a place where we hear from improvisers tell their story of what it's like to negotiate and navigate inside of an open, empty space. Our guest is Kevin Cosgrove, percussionist. I am your host, Paul Metzger. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by the Khyber Pass Cafe, located in St. Paul, Minnesota. Kevin shared with us a bit of his backstory. Where he is now and what his experience is like inside of improvisation, collaboration. I have a short excerpt of the performance. That was a quartet led by Milo Fine. Milo Fine on percussion and B-flat clarinet. Elaine Evans, violin and pocket trumpet. Daniel Ferrudo, cello. And our guest, Kevin Cosgrove, percussion. I think it is time to enter the Khyber Pass podcast. Kevin Cosgrove. How do you define yourself musically as regard to instrumentation? Like, do you know what I mean? What I'm getting at, like, if you were to say Kevin Cosgrove plays
Right.
what instrument?
Yeah, that's a good question. Tonight, I would say you just want to say. Okay.
I want to like, let's say you run into someone.
Yeah.
And it comes up that you do music. You
Yeah.
know, oh, what instrument do you play?
I would say a percussionist then.
Okay.
And then, and you know, if I wanted to keep it simple, if I didn't want to, like,
simple.
if I didn't want to, you know, get into it.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
Let's say
I would
there's
just
not
say-
time. You don't have time to get into it.
Yeah,
It's
I'd just
It's
say
crazy time.
Percussionist.
Wow.
That's how I'd do it.
Yeah. Percussionist. But if you have time, like we do,
Yes.
how do you say that? Because from my side of things, as an observer and listener, I would have a hard time describing what you do instrumentally. What it is that the instruments, you know, it's hard to say for me.
Well, I would say like for tonight, I do extended technique on the drums, and I'm doing free improv
On.
on extended technique on the drums.
So this evening, for the quartet, I'll say, which is who's playing then this evening?
It's pretty much a Milo Fine thing. I think anything that he's in is kind of his thing, right? It's a Milo Fine quartet.
Yeah.
With Milo Fine, Elaine Evans, Daniel Furita, and Kevin Cosgrove.
But if Milo's involved, he is the ipso facto leader of what's happening.
Yeah, he gathers people together. He chooses the people. You know, I mean, he's very generous, and you know, if he said, "Oh, I want you to do this," and I said, "Oh, I want to do that," he'd be like, "Cool," you know.
Yeah.
But we're here because of Milo.
Dig.
Yeah.
So I mean, from what I know about your musical history, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Hand percussionist, originally.
That's my root instrument. That's my original axe.
Was there some shit before that
Middle
that I
Eastern
missed
drumming.
out on? Okay.
You know, back when I was a kid, I I sang in like a punk band for a couple rehearsals, right?
Yeah.
Tried to play bass.
What was that like?
Yeah, you know, I wasn't into it. I was just trying to do it because, you know, my buddies were.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, wasn't much of a follow through on that.
Yeah.
You know, but then later on, I found the hand drum, and I got into it.
Mm-hmm. So you were into like the Middle Eastern patterns.
Yeah, I did the
structures.
basic
Yeah.
Egyptian stuff that people learn when they're learning the doumbek.
Yeah, you're a doumbek boy.
Yep. Oh, it is.
Yeah, I like that case.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so just sort of like within that one, you talk about what was happening there. So you're like a certain kind of age, I assume.
Yeah, that was I think I was like 23 or something, you know, which is a late start for a musician. And I kind of envy people.
That's all bullshit.
Especially
man.
like percussionists who like learned as a young person. There's a lot of really amazing percussionists who like have fathers or older brothers who are drummers.
Yeah.
And you know, and there is something.
Don't worry about all that.
All right.
That's all they.
There's something nice about my thing that, you know, that I'm lacking in a certain maybe this is a rationale, but I feel just the fact that I have to work a lot harder to conquer a rhythm, and that I don't have like a musical talent that I have, or I don't have a background in music. I don't have a fundamental thing that I learned as a kid that's like in me. Kind of makes it so that my music is very unique. Or, just the fact that I can't read music, I can kind of only play my own stuff. And I've like tried to play, and I've learned how to play drum kit a bit, and I have fun doing it. And, but I couldn't, I switch like the 1 and the 2. I can't play for like a band that wants me to play a certain way. I can only do it in my own style, which I think is kind of cool. But it's maybe I'm just rationalizing, my own defects. But
tonight you'll be playing in a Milo Fine based quartet, yeah?
Yep.
And will you be playing drum kit or percussion items, or?
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna play percussion extended technique.
Mm-hmm.
I got a thing that I've been using for a while now.
Which is?
I play chamber kit. I play standing up. It's just a bass drum with a high tom and a snare on it, and then I play a bass steel drum, and then I use various things, and I bow stuff, and I got a piece of metal that I bow, and cymbals.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And in this context, in this quartet, how do you see your role? Like when you, like in this form, it's free improvisation, right?
Yeah.
And how do you like navigate that world of there's nothing set, there's just you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how you hear and react to things. Like how do you go into it? How do you enter into that experience when there's no real roadmap that anyone's using?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm naturally an improviser. I think there's some people who are not naturally an improviser. I marvel at people who struggle with, who want to learn and the right way to do it rather than just goof around on something to make sounds with it.
Mm-hmm. That sounds much more natural to you.
That, yeah, just like, oh, here's an instrument, let's see what sounds I can make out of it. So I have no problem improvising, and it's like you just do your best. I guess I don't really have too much of an idea about how it goes, and I don't think it. I don't know how useful it is to try and figure out what I'm doing, because I don't think it's like something you can really think of so much. I know that like sometimes we have plans, like sometimes Milo will say let's do shorter sets, and he'll say let's not try and get into a groove too much, but try and kind of do the different of what you naturally want to do.
Okay.
And those are just guidances to keep you more awake while it's going on. But I think listening is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I think complimenting or even contradicting, rather than trying to play the same thing that someone else is playing, makes for a much more interesting thing. I think trying to stay out of a natural groove that you fall into
Do you mean as in musically, like falling into something that would have a straight rhythm to it, groove? Is that what you mean, or?
Yeah, or maybe, or just like just it, doing something that is like is just comes naturally to you. It is maybe just not. I mean, there's is maybe something you've done before, and to
Okay.
try and keep awake and aware of what's going on and listening and responding. I mean, you are responding very naturally, and it's like I feel like you don't think about it while it's going on, but then just to keep it being something special rather than something that feels right or just fits with it. I don't know. It's hard to describe exactly what that is.
It sounds like you maybe like to avoid the comfortable. Maybe.
There you go. That's a good way to say it, perhaps. Yeah.
I've been to college. I know what you mean, though, because we, as musicians, as improvisers, I think we all have. I think we do all have areas that we feel comfortable in, where there's not very much potential for anything to happen. It just is like a safe zone.
A good example of it is maybe the most popular type of improvising that happens is which I kind of came out of is the drum circle.
Oh yeah,
where people are playing drums together in a group. Everybody's loud, and it's like the most boring, unmusical stuff. And it might be like it's like it was really fun for a while, and it like sometimes it can get really psychedelic and really very interesting, but it's like that can only happen with a small group when you're tuning into each other. When you get a large group of people, it just kind of goes to this common denominator that's just kind of mundane and just kind of the same thing. There's like 2 or 3 different beats that they have, and you can hear it, and you could probably go to any place in the country, a bunch of untrained drummers will like just fall into the same thing, and that's what you don't want to do. Is you don't want to fall into these mundane patterns.
Yeah. It's funny though, because whenever I'm at a thing, usually like, I don't know, street fair or something like that, where that happens to be something that's around a drum circle, which was more common in the past. I don't think that's even a thing anymore.
No,
but
it's still a thing.
Is it? I see.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But I'm always attracted to it.
Yeah.
Always. I'm drawn to that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, every time I hear it. But then when I walk up and I'm there, then I'm repelled by it because because that it's not good.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm expecting, some amazing innovations of music.
Yeah.
But it's just
And I think that's
not happening.
I think training in music is helpful. My sister, she teaches art, and she had this funny story, and I don't know if hopefully I'm telling it right, but
I hope you're telling it wrong. That's me.
Anyway, she was telling me how like people were criticizing her for criticizing beginning art students' art, saying like, oh, well, if they're expressing it, it's part of their free expression. How can you ever criticize that? She was like, oh, okay, so if they're expressing their true selves, how come everybody's kind of doing it the same, and they're doing it in a really boring way, And so I think you have to sink deep in your art, and whether it's through training or through just being aware of it. I think, of course, practicing an instrument gives you like a certain base, to make stuff interesting, to be able to express yourself in a more interesting way, in a more awake way. Mm-hmm. That's what maybe part of the repellent feeling of the drum jams is that they it seems like unconscious and sleepy, and like drawing you into like a not alive groove or something,
Whereas it doesn't happen like with outdoor like drum corps.
Right.
I get jacked up, man. I'm attracted.
You see those people coming down and they're like, and they stop, and it's like, woo!
Yeah, and I don't even, I'm just attracted, and I love it, but I hear drums and then I'm attracted, but then the drum jam or the drum circle, it can be one of the most mundane. So that's one aspect then of the Kevin Cosgrove diamond, one facet. I recently saw you perform in another sort of context as a soloist, and I really, really dug it. Can you talk about that? That was your project, Transitional Species, and maybe say what's happening.
Okay, so Transitional Species is a project that developed very slowly. I wanted to play experimental music. I was going to a lot of experimental music shows and free improv shows. So it kind of came more out of like free jazz, experimental, avant-garde style music. But it's an acousto-electronic thing where I thought I was going to be an instrument builder, because I was like Tim Kaiser. I liked the way that you would invent instruments. And
don't drag me in.
All right, sorry. And so, but then I just found out you could just stick a contact mic on a piece of metal, and that sounds so cool. And when I discovered, like, you bow a piece of, like a shelf, a wire shelf, you just bow it, and it sounds so cool. And bam, that was, I invented that was the beginning of Transitional Species, and then it just developed super slowly. I added more stuff. I use a ring mod and a reverb. That's my secret. That's like how it sounds so cool. I just
people
totally
now
gave
know how
it away.
to do that.
I know, right?
Now a lot of people are protective of their bullshit. Have you noticed that? Like,
I don't think so. People take pictures of their pedal setup.
Yeah.
Put it up on Facebook.
Oh, they do?
show. Yeah, there's
Okay.
like noise guys all over the country. Like everybody posts their pedal setup. Seriously.
Okay.
But maybe some people are. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I assume.
And then I would play like the Tuesday series with that a couple times, and then I just loved it that the harsh noise guys like kind of just started thinking of me as their own. I didn't think I was like being noise, but I really liked noise back then.
Yeah.
And they like started booking me for shows. I started opening for metal bands and stuff, and I was great. And so Transitional Species is a project that is very improv. Like I know how to make the sounds. I've pretty much conquered it, I feel like. Mm-hmm. I can, if someone asked me to play a show next week, mm-hmm. I'm probably not gonna, maybe like a couple hours before the show, I'm gonna like see some things. I should
make sure your chords are all there.
Yeah, and like, can I make this sound, or are these contact mics still working? And then I'll set up, and I won't really have an idea what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll like saying, okay, I'm gonna start out like this and end like this, and ideally I could think of a set, work on sounds. The thing is, it's like the way that works so much is like I'll come up with a great sound in my practice space, mm-hmm. and I won't be able to reproduce that like an hour later. at the show.
That's gotta just kill.
I know, right?
I would think.
I think
that would hurt.
the time that I was making the best sound was at the Bryant Lake Bowl one time when I was opening for the Blood Quantum people.
Okay.
And it was just the Blood Quantum people and the sound guy.
Yeah.
And I was just killing it. And it was the coolest sounds, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
And then the sound guy came down and said, "Oh, could you turn down a bit?"
Yeah. Oh, that's always a good sign and a good feeling.
But yeah, so yeah.
But you weren't told to stop, and I think that's nice.
I wasn't told to stop. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that ruined the sound when I turned down because it was very.
Yeah, man.
It was very much had to do with the feedback and everything, you know.
Yeah, I mean, from my perceptions of that project for you is that it really is a bit of an organism that you have set up that is able to to sense and react to the environment.
Yeah.
And it's really seems like the volume that you are going to be having through your amp is a critical element, as critical as anything.
Yep.
For it to produce what it's doing. That's something I really love about hearing it because...
Yeah, I set up in front of my amp.
Yeah.
So then I use the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one that I wouldn't want to... I guess I've worked with sound people on it before I decide I just need to do my own sound.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I'm like, what are you doing? What, Yeah. It's like, and then some sound guys are like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
I got to turn you way down because your sound goes up and down so much, and it's so unpredictable.
Yeah. They hate that kind of shit.
I know, right?
Yeah. Why don't you change everything about what you do so that the person doing sound can have an easier time?
Yeah.
Okay? Stop being so selfish. So then that project, then there was an evolution, if you will, into another project.
So at one point in my life, I was in debt. I had to replace my engine in my car. So I decided to give up all my vices that cost money. And so I paid off the debt. I was like $5,000 in the hole, and then paid it off in like 3 months or whatever. And then I was feeling pretty fresh too and different because I wasn't indulging in my vices that cost money.
Mm-hmm.
Do
you want to say what those are? Because it sounds a little bit more... It sounds grimier when you say it like that, because it sounds like you're trying to not say something like you were a sex tourist or something horrible.
It was smoking, drinking, and I would buy the expensive beer and buy beers for people and
you
tip
would.
big,
Yeah.
And ordering pizza. Those were the three things that I gave up.
Yeah.
And then I had all this extra money left over, and so I was living with I was working with a guy who was like into synthesizers and into all these different things. Mm-hmm. I actually was going to start this project with this person, and so I bought a sampler because a lot of noise guys use the sampler, and then I bought a synth, and then I bought another sampler, and then another sampler. Mm-hmm. And then I bought this crazy pedal that's just like I just love. Mm-hmm. And so then I started a new project, and it's kind of like a sober project and kind of like a new philosophy and kind of how I am thinking different about things. Mm-hmm. I know Transitional Species was very organic. Mm-hmm. While I feel like Psychomantic is more like a willful thing.
So what is the full name of that project?
Psychomantic, the Ritual Death Cult, is what I call it. Mm-hmm. And it's also a religion. The whole idea is it's like I wanted to do an occult electronics project. And so I came up with the name actually way before I came up with the idea for it.
Okay.
You know, because I like that name Psychomantic and the ritual death cult. Like, just sounds really cool.
Yeah.
But I think it was inspired because it explains a very, it explains concisely a philosophy which I actually believe that. So the whole thing is I wanted to do an occult electronics project and have the occult defined without invoking the supernatural. So to find out like there's pyromancy, there's necromancy, there's geomancy. Like pyromancy uses fire for magic, geomancy uses the earth, necromancy uses spirits, dead spirits, you know. So psychomancy uses your own psyche for divinitation, for knowledge, for magic, and the only way to use your own psyche as a magical object is to disidentify with it, and that's what the ritual death is. It's an inner ritual where you consciously disassociate from yourself to gain knowledge.
That's no small task.
Oh yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what you're saying is, in a lot of ways, maybe, I don't know, one of the ultimate goals of several religions, and, or am I mistaken? Like, to get to a more elemental self that's apart from your mind? Is that what you're getting toward, or maybe say it?
Well, actually, okay, you could say that like when we see stuff,
Real stuff?
yeah, or when, you know, objects of consciousness.
Okay.
You know, we feel things about it, whatever. But then if you see your feelings, you're no longer implicated by them. If you see your feelings as just other things that are arising, you know, you see an office, you see an evening, you see feelings towards that stuff. You know, it no longer becomes, it can be like a work of art that you're appreciating rather than something you're implicated or subjected to, you know. And I think you were saying more elemental self or consciousness. I actually think that consciousness is unnecessary projection onto experience. That in fact that it doesn't. It's just because we can say the word, just because there's a subject in our sentence structure doesn't mean there is one. You know, it's like, oh, that person, that other guy that's not here, you know, how old is that person, you know?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter, because just because I'm saying it doesn't mean that that person is there, you know?
Yeah, that's good. And so how does that transfer into what's happening in that project musically? Like, so you have a defined and developed philosophy, if you will, and then how does that tie into what's happening musically? That what you're doing with the samplers and the...
Well, partially that it is like more of a contrived, thought out thing. You know, pretty much I know how stuff is going to sound because I'm using synthesizers that are going to sound the same way every time I play. I have one pedal that like is weird, that changes a lot, which I have fun with, you know, that I never know how it's going to sound when I play it, and that throws in the kind of, you know, it always sounds terrible, which I like, you know. But yeah, so it's a more willful thing. Also, part of the religion, you know, the only real rule in the religion of psychomancy is that to not listen to pop music, which I do all the time. So I'm like a very bad practitioner of it. But pop music is against the religion because it reifies a certain, you know, emotional flows through your psyche that just strengthen your identification with yourself. You know, when you're listening to a song you like, you know, you go to that feeling, and then you think it seems more real. So so the structures of the songs, the psychomantic songs, are odd rhythms, static, more like interference patterns, rather than something musical that you can use to reify identification with emotional events.
Dig. That's pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can end there. That's good.
All right, cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, you have hopefully enough time to get ready to play, and I'd just like to thank you, Kevin Cosgrove, for being my guest on the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate your questions,
and I appreciate your appreciation. Thanks again, Kevin. Terminus, my friends. Kevin Cosgrove, percussionist. A lovely conversation, covering acres, spanning decades. Kevin Cosgrove, performing with Milo Fine, Elaine Evans, Daniel Ferruda. I am your host, Paul Metzger. I've been with you for these last 20 episodes. Perhaps slowly forming the outline. Investigating shapes in the distance through a glass darkly of what it is. What the journey is for the improviser. Thank you for listening. Until next time. Adio.